Hello and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing another episode of the Q&A series. We've not done it for a while and I thought I'd bring it back. So we got some questions from Instagram. Not a huge amount of questions. I think we're going to start fairly small this time and then build up to it. So what I'll say is if you have a question that you'd like answered on this series, and we'll try and do it every week, maybe every 2 weeks, leave the question down in the comments section. That's probably going to be the best way and we'll take the comments directly from there. Alternatively, make sure you're following on Instagram at Kibble Watches, and I will put up a questions box stating it's going to be for the Q&A video, so you can get your questions in that way as well, nice and easy. And also, we're going to be putting more emphasis on this YouTube channel going forward. So we're going to be doing lots of different videos and series, and we've got a lot of plans and ideas. But it would be really interesting in hearing what you would like to see on this channel, because it's all well and good us coming up with these ideas, but if it's not what you guys and girls would want to watch, there's no point doing it. So let us know down in the comments what series you'd like to see. Do you want to see more reviews? Do you want to see more interviews? Do you want to see just, I don't know, whatever you want to see? Let us know down in the comments and we will take a look at it and see if we can do it. So if I'm looking down at my phone, it's because I've got the questions on here, so that is why. But we're going to start with a question from Mark Niski. Sorry if I've absolutely butchered your name. I'll put it on screen as well for you to see. The question is, how did you get into watch dealing business? Now, I've touched on this in a few different videos. I've got it on the website as well, I believe, under our story, but I'll touch on it again here. So the way I got into the watch business was definitely by accident. So I started a normal job, like most people, working at a retailer, just stacking shelves. And obviously I weren't allowed my phone on me. So because of that, I went and bought a watch. I can't remember exactly what watch brand it was, but it was just a cheap fashion watch and it just fell apart. It didn't last long. And I went through this cycle about 3 times with these cheap fashion watches, and I thought there has to be a better way. Like, I had known of people who had a watch, like my dad had a Citizen for, God, 10 years at that point, and he'd never even had a battery change with the Eco Drive. So I was like, there's watches out there that last. Clearly I'm just choosing bad ones. And that's when I found, again with Citizen, a 1976, I want to say, Citizen Eagle 7 on eBay for £13. Still own this watch today, and it's an automatic watch, and I got very excited and bought pretty much every colour variation of this watch. And if you go back on the YouTube channel, you'll actually see super early videos where I look like an absolute idiot with blue hair, so I highly recommend checking them out. And I review these watches. I had like so many of them, it was insane. And that's what really started this passion, because I was fascinated that you could get something from the 1970s and obviously earlier that still works and does its function today. And in a world where we change phones every year or every 6 months even in some parts of the world, we're just in a throwaway society. Everything has a date where it just finishes working and doing its job. Whereas these watches outlive that. And I think there's a lot of sort of interesting points with that, and I think it's a beautiful idea, really. So because of that, I got into watches and I decided I wanted to turn it into my career. I had no idea in what aspect, so I decided, well, let me start at retail. Let me start just selling watches at a retail store. And every retail store in Leicester, where I'm originally from, turned me away. They said, you have absolutely no experience. And I was like, look, sit me down, let's talk watches. You'll see I'm passionate and I know my stuff. But it didn't matter because I didn't have a past job on my CV, which was ridiculous. But eventually I got into a place called Watch Station, which I think is still around today. And it was an outlet in a House of Fraser. So we had 2 cabinets, probably the size of this table, just literally rammed full with Michael Kors, Hugo Boss, all these watches at like 80% off retail. They didn't even have boxes for the most part. You were lucky to get a stamp in your guarantee. It was not a very fun experience, but it was the experience I needed to go on to the next step. And to cut this very long story short, I worked my way through retail. I thought maybe I wanted to be a watchmaker. I tried my hand at that. I do not have the patience for that at all. I wanted to smash apart the watches. It's not fun for me. But what I really enjoyed was business, sales, and just watches in general. So thus became Kibble Watches, right? You know, it was always in the back of my mind, always something I've been building for 5 or 6 years on the side of these full-time jobs. And through one way or another, unfortunately, Kibble Watches became big enough that it became a conflict of interest for all these jobs I was in. So I was basically kindly pushed out the door very abruptly, which pushed me in the right direction, really. I needed that. So to those people, I know some of you still watch secretly, thank you very much. I appreciate that push, really did help. But that's how I got into watch dealing. It was not an easy process. Started with £300 really to buy my first couple of watches, build the website, which was a .mystore.com, so it wasn't even an official, website at that point. And the truth is, I think that's the best way to do it. I know there's quite a few dealers out there now that have just popped up and they've got 150,000 pounds to put into watches, and all of a sudden they've got this massive stock range, which is great, but I just don't think it's the way to do it. I think you need to learn, you need to build up towards it, you have to start somewhere, and that is buying and selling watches. You have to just start, and the process of buying and selling a 20 or 25 pound watch really is the same process of buying and selling a 10,000 pound watch. And if you can treat the two the same, you have so much scope for experience in that more affordable range, because it's easier to buy those kind of things. That's what I recommend, and that's how I did it. The second question from Lights Out Lim, thank you Mr. T, you know who you are. Timeline forecast for becoming a 5 million turnover business. Wow. So right now I've spoke about this before in the update video. Last year we did around 250,000 in sales, and I'm very honest about figures on this channel. I know a couple of people said you don't need to go in as much detail. I have a lot of people emailing me about detail because they want to know whether this is something they should pursue or not monetarily. So 250,000 in sales last year. The goal was 500,000 in sales this year. We're looking like we're going to actually smash that out of the water and do probably 750,000 this year total, which is bonkers. So I think next year realistically should be between 1.2 and 1.5 million in sales. And again, if we just keep going down that route, I think it's going to be very difficult to keep sort of multiplying by 2 every single year. I don't think, I mean, who knows, but I don't think 2022 will be a £3 million year. I don't know, I think it's going to slow down that kind of growth. I think by 2024, 2025, probably 2025, I'd like us to be a £5 million turnover company. I think that's very realistic. I think it's very doable with the current growth. And if that continues, we'll hit it much sooner, but I just don't think it's going to continue at that kind of rate. I just don't. So we'll see how that goes. But I think 2025, 5 million turnover business, I think is doable. Next question from Moon Watch and Me. How are you settling into the new office? It looks fantastic. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's going really, really well. We've still got a few finishing touches to do, and I think this is going to be a forever project. I think we're always going to be changing little bits and bobs, and to be honest, we're getting to the point where if we keep growing at this rate, by the end of next year we might actually have to look at a bigger space already, which is just insane to think. But it's going really, really well. We'll do at some point, hopefully get some photos done. So we'll tidy it up properly and we'll get Danny to do some nice photos for the website and everything like that. So you can see what it looks like a bit more rather than just these videos and the occasional little Instagram photo I do. But it's going really well. I'm really, really happy with it. It was the move we needed to do. For any of you who have been following for a long time and watched the old videos, that office was actually smaller than our back office we have now. And we're in a 250 square foot space now, total. Again, not a big office at all, but to have that kind of space on Clerkenwell Road in pretty much East Central London is pretty insane. I mean, I still pinch myself oftentimes looking out this window going, this is our space, you know. So yeah, it's going really well and we'll see where it goes. Next question that came in on a message, so I don't have a photo for it on screen. Dan occasionally like things, hope you're doing well. Will we see a collector chat series at all? I also missed the lives with John. So there's actually been a couple of questions about the lives with John. For those of you wondering what that is and you don't know, we did a series pretty much every Wednesday back in the day. Me and John used to sit down, and John runs Antique Watch, for those of you who don't know, a shop here in Clerkenwell. They've been here 46, 47 years, closing in on 50 years, which is insane. But we'd sit down, we'd just get a load of watches on the table, we'd open a bottle of wine and just talk nonsense for an hour. And people really liked it. I think it was a pretty fun series because it was just so casual in an industry that's always so not casual. So it made a difference. I would like to bring it back. It's just a case of working out times and schedules between us both, because we're both very busy, especially right now with Christmas. It's just bonkers. So next year we'll look at doing something. Maybe we switch the format up a bit, maybe bring it actually to YouTube rather than just live, and actually maybe incorporate the wine fact a bit more. I think it could be quite fun. Maybe whiskies as well. I don't know. I think there's an opportunity there with something that could be quite interesting. I'll speak to John about it and I'll send him this video and see what he thinks. And the other part of your question, what was it? Will we see a collector series at all? Yes, definitely. We have thought of the idea. I mean, it's not an original idea at all. I think everyone's doing it, so why not us as well, right? But we want to do it a little bit different with some very real people. And again, I think I said in a different video, I mean no disrespect to any of the people in the other series. I absolutely love watching them, but oftentimes the collections are very unobtainable for most of us. Whereas I want to sit down with real people who just have built up a collection over many years and there's stories attached to these watches, and we can all look at and go, you know what, that's doable for me too. I think there's an interesting aspect to that. So we've got a couple of people in mind. We've already had quite a few people actually email us saying they'd like to be on the series. So if you're one of those people, you'd want to come to our office here in London, bring your watches, sit down and talk with us, let us know in the email, info@kibblewatches.co.uk. But it's definitely something we'll do to keep an eye on. Next question from Henry Quoms. I totally butchered that, I apologise. Are AliExpress watches a good option for people from undeveloped countries? I don't think the undeveloped countries bit matters, to be honest. I think AliExpress have got some really interesting, funky watches for very affordable prices. And I think they're a lot of fun for not a lot of money. And I think, as I touched on before, this industry is always so serious. You know, everyone's always like, oh, we can't talk about homages. You can't own a homage, like how dare you? Whereas I think they're a lot of fun for not a lot of money, and you get all that feel and enjoyment without having to spend, in some cases, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 pounds for some of these watches. I have nothing against it. I think undeveloped or not, it doesn't make a difference. I think if you like the design and have the money for it and you think you'll enjoy it, go for it. Look what anyone else says. You know, screw what anyone says on Instagram and what they're going to comment. It doesn't matter. You know, enjoy your hobby how you want to enjoy it. Otherwise, what's the point? And the final question, there was a few more, so I apologise for not answering them all, but get them in the next one, is from AMJ_1975. Hope you're doing well, mate. Rolex getting rid of ADs, question mark. So, I've heard a few people mentioning this. Are Rolex getting rid of ADs? I don't think they're getting rid of ADs. I think they're narrowing down the amount of ADs they use to try and streamline the process for them, because they are definitely pushing more and more towards wanting just collectors buying their watches as opposed to flippers. They're wanting to try and eradicate. They've been trying to do that for forever, really. But so I think because of that, they're trying to reduce it down to more and more companies they can control. And what I mean by that is, from working in retail before, a lot of these retailers really do bow down to a lot of these brands, and they will do everything the brand requests. They'll open up a £2 million shop or a boutique that's attached to the retailer, but not actually owned by that brand, but owned by the retailer. And they'll make you wear the brand's uniform rather than the company's uniform. You know, they really do have the retailers wrapped around their finger. And that's what they want more and more. If they can get that without having to pay the fortunes to have these spots themselves, these retail locations, why wouldn't they? You know, as a brand, it makes complete sense. So I think that's what they're focusing on more and more. And they're also definitely pushing more and more for their own boutiques, as in the ones they actually do own. They're wanting more and more people to go to there, so they're reducing the amount of option around that location is what we're seeing. And I think it just makes sense. It makes business sense for Rolex. I don't think it makes business sense for all the brands, but for Rolex it does, because they're just in a world of their own with how they do retail. I was speaking to a customer about it recently, about how they've reduced the number of links that they provide with the watches straight out of retail. A customer of ours has a really nice Daytona. He bought it a long time ago and it fit with, I think, 2 links spare. And then he went and bought another Rolex, another Daytona actually, a different one, and it only just fits him, no link spare. I mean, that's pretty bonkers, and they made him buy the spare link as well, just in case. So, you know, Rolex can get away with this. Should they? I mean, that's constantly debated, no, but then if you guys and girls stop giving them all the attention that they get, and you stop buying their products, and you stop lusting after them, then yeah, this will stop, but that's not gonna happen anytime soon. So, you know, unfortunately, Rolex have a monopoly on it, and they can do whatever they want, including getting rid of ADs, and it is happening. And unless the ADs bow down to them and give them their every wish, you know, they're probably going to lose them. So that's it. But I hope you enjoyed this video. I did forget to say what was on wrist. Because I'm in the office, I thought I'd enjoy the Moser for a little bit. This is the Center Seconds red gold, beautiful piece. Go check it out on the website. We also have the Moser Tourbillon. But yeah, it's just been a lot of fun doing this. I look forward to doing the next episode. As I said, we'll try and do them every week or 2 weeks. Sort of depends on schedule and also how many questions we actually get. So leave them down in the comments, email them, put them on Instagram, wherever's best. And we'll see you all next time. Take care.